Hi, welcome to another episode of Real Life with Yard. I'm here with my funny friends. On my left, the lovely, the beautiful Noel Gray. On my right, the funny Gary Pettinella.
Hi.
And I was kind of cruising the internet the other day and I saw a statistic which has been around for ages. And it said that 70% or more, it actually said or more, 73% of all marriages in the U.S. end in divorce. Now, I'm very curious. Ooh, see, this is why men can't stay married.
Oh my God, I'm
you know
so
what I mean?
sorry.
I'm here trying to be the nice, decent married guy. She whips out her boobies. Well, she didn't whip out her boobies, but now I got it.
Well, I could. Hang
now
on
I
a
keep
second.
glancing, you know, like when you see cleavage, you try not to look at the cleavage, but you can't
See,
help.
but you know what? I'm bald, so my head gets stared at. So I'm like, I want to get a tattoo on my head that says, dude,
Right.
my boobs are right down here.
This is different. Actually, a woman that wants you to look at her boobs.
Well, so you reach a certain age as a woman and people stop looking at you, you know? It's
That
like
is
you
true.
kind of like start to crave
Can I ask you a question
sexual
before we
harassment.
get? At what age? Because, okay, I think guys start checking girls out, I'd say from 14, 15, 16.
I think younger than that.
But I think as soon
You
as
think
they're
so?
born, yeah.
Yeah, as soon as-
yeah.
Yeah, as soon as they're born, they're on, they're on a nipple.
Oh, nice huggies.
It's a genetic imperative that
But
men
you
act
said
that way.
that guys stop looking. At what
yeah.
point? There's a certain age, and I think that's why older women are so angry. I do. I really do. That's why, like, women in their 50s, they seem to have an attitude because they're angry because there was that period in their life where guys were always looking at them. Guys were always hitting at them, and immediately it just stopped. They wake up one day and they're no longer hot. The husband's not looking at them. The guys at the office is not looking at them.
Yeah, see,
Nobody.
That's why I'm so.
I think everybody looks at.
Yeah, but you don't get the attention that you used to get, is what I'm saying.
Well,
you know what I mean?
obviously, if you're 80 years old, I mean, who's going to give you attention? but you will get attention from guys that are 90 that still have a brain.
If you're 40, guys who are 60, they're gonna notice you. The point is that women, people in general, you lose your sexual prowess as you get older. So of course there's going to be a certain period of time where instinctually as animals, men are not necessarily going to notice older women because they're not fertile.
Yes,
It's all about reproduction.
Yes,
you
that's
know?
what makes
But-
women attractive in their teens, is because of when they start becoming fertile.
Right.
It's like almost like a hormonal type thing that men will actually generate.
So I think
Or women
women
generate,
after a
and men
certain
will-
age, I think women after a certain age, we begin to realize that is not necessarily that the not the affirmation, I can't think of the right word, but the attention from the opposite sex isn't necessarily the thing
And it
that
makes
we
them
used to
angry.
define us.
And it makes them angry.
Some women, if they were women, perhaps, I'm just speculating here, who were really, really attractive when they were younger, and then they lose their looks and didn't bother really doing anything to develop who they were as people, maybe they might get a little bit angry about it. But if you've always been the kind of woman who's never really actually looked at yourself as being a physical being and someone that men would look at, you'd spend lots and lots of time developing your personality and your intellect, and
Yep.
that's where you're more introspective
That
about those
is-
things. And so when you reach your 40s, maybe it's not that important. Maybe it's more or less amusing.
And there's a lot of very attractive women that have a very low self-esteem of themselves. So, you know, that's why sometimes you see very attractive women with not so attractive men.
And
It's
that's
all about
because
personality.
after a while, looks gets tiring.
Yeah.
They
you know?
mean
They get stale.
nothing,
Yeah,
They get stale.
you know. But we're going to talk about the divorce rate. And why do you think the divorce rate? And I'll go to Noel first. Why do you think 73% of marriages end in divorce? From your personal experience, from family, from friends, are men are the ones that are cheating? Or, you know what I mean? Women expect more from men? What do you think?
Boy, you know what? Honestly, I've never really thought about it. I know that with my marriage, I did not get married until I was 35.
Have you ever had a guy cheat on you?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
for sure.
and you caught him and did you ask him what did I not do? Or-
Actually, no, I never caught the guy. I always found out after the fact, and we would break up for other reasons, usually
Right.
because he was a jerk.
And another thing, I banged 4 chicks when I was with you.
Yeah, I've had guys cheat on me before, but
Yeah.
I always find out after, and I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense. And it never,
It
him
makes
cheating
sense.
on me,
You mean like him cheating made sense?
why the relationship wasn't working. Like, oh, yeah, of course you'd cheat on me. I mean, look at me. I'm like a nasty, filthy whore, and she's gorgeous. It was never anything like that. It was just the characteristics were there in your personality, and I was just way too young to see it. But my particular marriage, I've only been married once. I married him when I was 35. He's a very, very good guy. I'm extremely happy I waited. I think if I were to look at it from that perspective, I think one of the reasons the divorce rate is so high in this country, at least with younger people, I can't speak for anyone older than me, is you're too young. You're too young.
That is absolutely
You haven't
true.
spent enough time finding out who you are, developing your personality, learning and loving who you are. And if you don't know those things, developing life experience, and if you don't have those things, you can't bring them into the marriage. And if you can't bring those things into the marriage, then there isn't enough substance in that marriage for both people to still maintain their individuality and still support each other as individuals. And I think that what might cause a rift in a marriage.
I think that could be a fact. Excuse me. I think the biggest reason why that the divorce rate is so high, I think you can sum up in one word: expectations. I think men and women have different expectations of not just of different sexes, but of how you're raised and what you expect as a wife to be and what you expect as your husband to be. Because right now, I mean, usually back in the 50s and the 60s, the Italians married Italians. You stayed inside of your own group, okay? So now you knew what to kind of expect. The expectations were the same because you came from the same cultures. Now it's like so broad, you don't know what you're seeing, or what you're getting. And people aren't staying in a relationship long enough because when you're younger, you usually date longer. And you have time to grow as young people, to grow with each other. Sometimes you grow apart.
So you're saying like
I would finish saying it if you let me.
Irish? No, but you said something about the Irish are marrying the Italians, and so if
Well, you come from different backgrounds, so you have different looks and views. The families have different looks and views. I mean, one of the biggest things that's hard on a marriage is your family, and what you do. Like, we're going over here on Christmas. Well, I want to spend time here on Christmas because we have the big parties, and then other people might not have such a big group. One family might be huggy kissy, one family might be colder to each other.
It's funny you said that. My family's huggy kissy. My wife's family's not huggy kissy.
Yeah.
My husband's family, they
My
don't
wife,
laugh at all.
if I don't see my sister for a week and I see her, I'm like, ah! We're screaming and running toward each other. My wife's family could not see each other for 10 years, and then they see each other and go, how you doing? I go,
awesome.
what is that? You know what I mean? I go, what is that? I mean, I don't get that. You know what I mean? But
I think you have a point, except I might come at it from a slightly different
Well, could I just finish what I was going to say about the older people?
Sure.
Oh, thank you. The older people, when I say older, I mean people that are in their later 20s and 30s, okay, and even 40s. When you're single and you chased your a career, or you were in a band or whatever you were doing, okay, and you waited to get married, okay, and to get into that special a relationship, you pass up a lot of opportunities where you might have passed the right person in your way. Now, as you get older, you start. The people that want to get into some type of steady, a relationship or get married, they start looking, and you look at this cup, and you might think this cup is disgusting, but you start looking at it and saying, yeah, you know what, it's not that bad, and you settle. And then after you settle for that, after you get married and you start like, what the hell did I do? And you never really had that connection with the person to begin with. You made the connection there, and you forced it upon yourself. And you didn't really, where you basically just forced it, and now you're basically stuck.
Yeah. Now that you got time, after you get married, now you have time to sit back and relax and think straight.
Yeah.
Have some,
women too, they rush into marriage afterwards, like when in their 30s, they want to have kids.
But how do you now go to that person and say, listen, I married you, I know it's been 10 years, I don't think this is for me,
Well, now
you're like an a-hole.
That's what I feel some of the problem is. People rather just say, screw it, I'm going to marry the person anyway, and now you created a whole new problem. Now you have kids, and now it's like you're dragging them into the bad relationship. where you should have just stuck ground and said, you know what, and be honest in the beginning and say, you know what, it just isn't working out for us. It ain't working out for me. It's not you, it's me.
I think when people date, I'm a big proponent of living together before you get married, at least being around each other.
Oh, you have to.
Because we all, I mean, when we're dating, we're on our best behavior, we're doing everything, you know what I mean? Everybody's like, marry me, I'm fun, marry me, I'm fun. You're like, really? Yeah, marry me, I'm gonna be fun, it's gonna be so much fun. And you're like, really? Yeah! And then you marry them and they go, they're not fun. You know what I mean? Then there's nothing. What
happened?
Yeah.
Well, there's a joke.
You told me you were gonna be fun.
Cute little fuzzy puppy, and now you've turned into an old hag.
Now you're stuck.
Okay.
There's a joke, I mean, and it's been out forever. A woman marries a man expecting he will change, and he doesn't. And a man marries a woman expecting that she's not going to change, and she does.
Yeah. That is true.
You know, and I mean, that's another big reason. I mean, first of all, this goes deep. Are the human is the human race? Are we supposed to be monogamous?
Well,
because again, religion and society tells us that we need to be.
That's for stability in society. Yeah.
But are humans really supposed to be? We're animals. Are we? I mean, you don't see your dog, banging the dog next door and then saying, you know what, that's it. She's only mine. You know, no.
We're not supposed to be monogamous. I mean, because we all have these feelings, but we have to suppress them because it pisses the other person off.
Yeah.
So
you know we're supposed to be open and honest with our partners and be able to tell them anything we want.
If you want to stay married, you need to lie.
That's why I have these two tattoos: love and lies, because one doesn't go without the other.
You can't tell the truth and stay married. It's impossible.
I think I think that's a really old belief, and I don't think it necessarily serves.
No,
us
the reason
as a
I'm saying that
anymore.
is because Dave and I had this conversation one time. I think we actually did it. We had a show where we talked about marriage and stuff like that. And one of the questions we were asking the audience about marriage. Should a guy tell his wife if she's gaining weight? If he doesn't like it, if she's gaining weight and he doesn't like it, should a guy go up to her and say, listen, honey, you know, you're getting a little chubby, you know, can you hit the gym? Or, you know what I mean? I really like you when you're at 120. I'm not liking you so much when you're at 150. I don't hate you, but I prefer you to be 120.
Well, the same question.
Every single woman in the crowd said, no, you should never say that to a woman.
Depends on how you bring it up.
If you look at it the other way, it's like there are millions of reasons why women could gain weight. Contrarily, if you have a woman walk up to her husband and say, you know what, sugar, when you had that full head of hair, I just thought you were the bee's knees, but you know what, your hair's receding now.
You can do something about being chubby. You can't do
it.
anything about losing your hair.
Yeah, you could. You could get a rag.
You can. So the question is, I think that depends on the dynamics and the boundaries within the relationship, if you can say that to somebody. Like my husband and I, for example, I'm the one who looks at other women's tushes. I'm the one who notices a nice set of breastises.
But he does.
And
too.
I point. No, he doesn't.
Oh, he does.
He doesn't.
No, women
He's completely oblivious.
Right. Women look at women harder than men will look at women.
But I pointed out to him, and as far as I'm concerned, that's a wonderful, very permissive, very open part of our relationship.
Yeah.
And other men are kind of jealous of him because I'm the one going, oh, look at that butt. That's a really nice butt. You know, and our other female friends are, they're actually
as long as your husband and you think of it.
But I'm cool with that. You know, I'm not threatened in my relationship. I know my husband is my husband. He's going to be my husband for as long as I'm alive. I am cool with that. He wants to look at other women, that's fine. Women come up to him at a bar, and he's a good-looking dude. I married myself a trophy husband. Women come up to him, talk at a bar, and I'm like, fine. I don't. Yeah. It's cool. As far as I'm concerned,
because you know you're going home with
You're just complimenting me. Yeah, but if he decided to turn around and cheat on me, I would want to talk about it. I would want that to be a topic of conversation.
That's not a deal breaker. Once he cheats, that's it. I'm done. No more. That's it.
See, men and women are hardwired different. Men just need a place to put it. Women need a reason. So you know, a man, you know, if there's a vagina there and he's erect, he's like, you know. But where a woman needs that emotional stimulation, you know. And that's why, and usually a woman, before she cheats, she will tell the husband or the boyfriend what she needs, what she's lacking in the relationship. So, you know, it's like a warning shot. You know, so, I mean, and the husband is like, oh, yeah, whatever, just go to sleep. You know, I don't want to hear your mouth.
A buddy of mine said the difference between men and women and cheating is that when a guy cheats, he can go out, have sex with another woman, and don't even care about the other woman.
Right.
A woman would fall in love with the guy that cheats.
Well, our brains not saying this is true for all women, just like it wouldn't be true for all men. Women are wired in such a way where we develop emotional attachments when we have sex. Not all women, and there are a lot of men out there who develop emotional attachments as soon as they have sex with a woman once. God help me, I've had some of those before, and it's very frightening. It's like,
I mean, I usually cry during orgasm. Is that wrong?
But those boundaries aren't necessarily set anymore. I think you mentioned before that back in the old day, I don't know what old day you were referring to as the 1950s,
Yesterday.
30s.
Yesterday's an old day.
That there were, that people married within whatever cultural group they happened to be in. So if you lived in a very Italian neighborhood or a very Polish neighborhood, maybe you would marry someone else in that neighborhood because they were culturally similar to you, and the religious boundaries and the socioeconomic boundaries dictated that that was something that was status quo. But now we live in a society that is so much more diverse than it was, say, 20 years ago.
What the hell is that?
Well, you're leaning in front, and we're trying to look at each other.
It's so much more diverse than it was 20 years ago in terms of how we think about culture, how we think about society, how we think about class, that I think all of those extra influxes of ideas also contribute to a divorce rate because there are so many more options out there. In addition, a lot of women now are
the workforce.
It's like 70% of the families in the United States are supported by a woman head of household, not a man head of household. For whatever reason, married, not married, we won't even go there right now. So that's going to affect the divorce rate as well. Women realize that they don't necessarily need the income of a second parent, of a man, to be able to support their family, even though we're still not equal in terms of what men and women are paid. And that's going to make a huge difference, too, as to whether or not a woman decides to stay in a marriage because she's no longer dependent on the man for her sustenance.
Well, that's the other thing, too, is back in the day, the man worked. The woman stayed home to take care of the house.
Right, so
there was less.
She was trapped.
So there's no way for it. So you're saying because women are home, there's no way they can cheat? But
No, that's not. Listen, cheating and divorcing is totally different. Because there's a lot of people that cheat, you know, in today's society that don't get divorced. They just cheat, and a lot of times the husbands.
Some people would call that an open relationship, and therefore it's not really cheating if both people are consensually involved in that, that agreement.
But
I mean, it's still cheating. It's just if the other person is going to put up with it or not. If the other person
it's only cheating if the other person doesn't know.
And doesn't agree with it, and doesn't agree with it.
You can cheat and the other person still know. I mean, you're saying it's cheating if the other person doesn't know?
No. Well, how is it called cheating? It's just
it's
stepping
cheating,
out.
But the other person just putting up with it. It's okay by me. I'm cheating on you, and the other person says, okay.
Well, it's whether or not the other person
it's almost like being swingers. You know, it's almost like going to a swingers club.
Yeah, but the word is still the same. It's still cheating. But if the other person is okay with it, it's still cheating. Either way, it's still cheating. But the other person is okay with you cheating, right?
I think cheating is defined by the two people in the relationship.
Yes.
It's not necessarily as cut and dry on that, in my opinion. Yeah, like if my husband stepped out, oh, honey, if you're watching this, don't cheat on me, because I will kick your butt. No, if my husband stepped out on me and then came back and said, by the way, I just slept with another woman, and didn't tell me, and just said, by the way, I slept with another woman, that would be cheating because it would happen without my consent and without my knowledge. But if we had a conversation prior to anything happening, him saying, I'd really like to sleep with this person, or I'd really like to sleep with somebody else, we would have to have a dialogue, and then we would have to decide as a couple whether or not this was something that our marriage could tolerate.
You are very unique, because not many women.
But I think that this is an attitude that exists not just within me. I think this is something that's culturally exists within the United States as well. And there are a lot of marriages out there that have that kind of dynamic built in. They're called open marriages. So the term exists because the belief exists.
Yeah. Now, I know you're not going to be offended by this question because I know you're very open about your situation, but if you pass, how long does your husband have before he starts dating?
I want my husband to find someone.
Can you bring a date to your wake?
Only if I like her. If I don't like her, F the B. But no, in terms of this, I have a full expectation that my husband will meet somebody and get married and have children with that person. My only hope and wish for him is that it's someone who treats him with as much respect and love as he deserves.
Wow.
Yeah, and how soon that happens after I die, that's not relevant.
A lot of times people will get mad at the person that or the the partner that is left after somebody passes because of the distance. Oh my God, he's only been dead or she's only been dead this time. Now, listen.
What's the difference between say 6 months, a year, 2 years?
I know people that didn't talk to their families, their kids, because they
started dating too early after the person passed.
Yeah, it was like a couple years or whatever.
That's silly. That's silly. Just as long as it's someone who is truly wonderful, then if he settles with somebody out of loneliness or grief, that would really bother me, and I don't want him to do that. So I do now
it's gonna be hard
in my
for him to
life
do
everything
that.
I possibly can to help prepare him for that time when I am not there. And that includes talking to all of our friends and telling all of our friends very bluntly, this is what I'm expecting, this is what I want for him, this is what I'm going to need you to do when I'm not there to do it.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I just wanted to say about, we were talking about the wives being at home, is that there wasn't a lot of opportunities for men to cheat in the workplace because women were home, women weren't working.
And that's why Mad Men exists.
But that's the women held the house down. The men.
So
went
you're
to
basically saying you can't put men and women to work together unless something's going to happen.
Well, there's just more temptation. I mean, look at in some cultures and some religions, the women are all covered up.
Yeah.
Why is that? So they don't tempt the man.
Okay, hold on. Whoa. You just seriously crossed a line. It is not, women don't tempt men, okay?
Oh, no, men. It's the men.
That's making a woman responsible for a man's
I'm not saying
lack
that,
of control,
no.
which is completely and totally wrong. Women are covered because there's a belief in the Islamic religion that women are responsible for the animalistic, inappropriate behavior of men. That's totally not true. Men are responsible for themselves.
Well, you're right. Everybody's responsible for themselves. That's not what I'm saying.
It's not about tempting men. It's about women having an equal opportunity to do the same exact jobs that men do. It has nothing to do with sex. Men bring the sex into the workplace in that component. That's part of the reason we have such a serious
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying about that in the workplace. I'm just saying, in some cultures that's why the women are all close.
Because it's their fault.
I'm not saying it's their fault. Listen, don't shoot the messenger.
You just said because the women tempt the men, and that's essentially that's what I'm saying.
In their beliefs.
But I understand what he's saying, and I understand what you're saying, and I've heard a lot of women say what you say.
Okay, if your husband goes to work with a woman that wears a bikini all day long, I mean, well, you might not care because you're different, but most women be like, I don't want you working with her.
There is temptation. There is temptation, and I'm not saying I can see a.
But it has nothing to do with gender. It
but
just has
it's
to do
not
with
blaming
being
the woman.
human.
Is what I'm saying. It's not blaming the woman. If you see a really beautiful woman, I would go, wow, she's pretty, and that's as far as it goes. But there's another guy that's gonna go, oh my God, and he might grab her.
It's my job to rape her.
Right, but that's a small percent. But what he's saying is true. Women do tempt some men. And it is possible.
Well, I'm not saying that they do it on purpose. Some do, but I'm not saying they're doing it on purpose. But
simply by their presence.
Yes,
and that's what I'm saying.
But it's not putting
that right there. That right there is a sexist attitude. That makes the woman responsible for creating the temptation for a man. The reality is it's the man who's perceiving the temptation. Therefore, it's his responsibility to look at his own behavior and take accountability for that and not say that the woman is tempting
But some men can't take the accountability. Some men don't process that. Some men don't think like that.
Which is why I believe in the death sentence.
And you've heard of the slut walk, right? Have you heard of the slut walk?
I've heard of the walk of shame.
The walk of shame is when you sleep with another girl or something.
Slut walk. And when you guys go home, you can Google the slut walk. What happened is in Canada.
Yeah.
There was
there's sluts in Canada?
There was in Canada.
Everybody in Canada is totally wholesome.
There was some college big thing going on in downtown Toronto, Canada. And one of the girls somebody grabbed a boob or something, but something sexually happened. And the cops were there, and and one of the cops said to one of the college girls, if you guys didn't dress so slutty, guys wouldn't be sexually harassing you. And that set off a whole new, now they have what they call slut walks.
That's making a woman accountable for a man's inappropriate behavior. No, to say that, it's like I should be able to walk anywhere I want, wearing whatever I want. And it's not, whether or not I'm wearing something that invokes a reaction from a man doesn't mean that he has a right to reach out and grab my
But knowing that men are very visual, Okay, women.
I'm not responsible for you perceiving yourself as being visual.
But okay, here's what I'm saying. There's
that's
1,000 guys who think like me and Gary who are not gonna touch you, but there's that 1 or 2 guys who are gonna. So why take that chance? Is what I'm saying.
A guy saying
there's nothing you can say to that guy to make him think logically like we're thinking.
No, there isn't, and I agree with you. I'm
You know
not
what I mean?
responsible. I can't influence. There's a saying: you can't teach a pig to sing. All you do is waste your time and annoy the pig. And when we're talking about people who are misogynists or sexists and support the attitude that women are responsible for the behavior of men and that women have to change something about what they're doing, how they're behaving,
I disagree
how
with
they're
that.
dressing, what they're looking, how much cleavage they're showing, that they're responsible for a man acting like
They're
a
not
pig
responsible.
who can't control
They're not
himself.
responsible,
That's
but you can-
sexism.
you have
That
to-
is sexism.
But, no.
First of all, I
I
find it very offensive that you use big words that I don't understand. That being said, go ahead.
okay, here's my analogy of this whole. Okay,
Now you're using the big words.
like if somebody, okay, let's say there's a big forest over there. Somebody goes, there's snakes in there,
Yeah.
and they go, I'm gonna walk through there just because there's snakes in there. They shouldn't bite me. I'm just a person walking through the forest. There's snakes in there, but it shouldn't bite me. And I go walking through it, and I get bit by a snake. That's my fault.
Okay.
Even though I should be able to walk through that forest without being bit, those goddamn snakes should not bite me. But there's.
So you're saying it's the nature of a snake, just like it's the nature of a pig.
Out of all the snakes, there's only.
Which doesn't make sense to me.
I think there's only like 15 or 20% of snakes that are poisons that can kill humans. There's 80% that don't. So there's a high possibility that those snakes might not even be poisonous. You know what I mean? But what if the possibility that there might be one poisonous snake in there? Why should I take that chance? And so it's the same thing I'm saying to women.
But you can't hold snakes accountable for their behavior.
If you dress slutty, you should expect some guy. You should expect.
Why? No, we.
But if you are a woman, we are both human beings.
Right.
We can think, we can feel. We're capable of making informed decisions, and that's the difference between you guys, all of us, and snakes. Snakes act completely on instinct. And to say that men are not responsible for their lascivious behavior or thoughts in public is like saying they're not responsible and they are no better than a snake.
Back to what I said earlier.
But some men talk themselves into like, oh, she's walking by.
Or lack of behavior.
She's walking by here with no bra because she's trying to entice me. Men will talk themselves into that.
But like I'm saying,
but that's not my responsibility.
No,
That's
I'm not
guy's
saying it's your responsibility.
to check his own behavior.
yeah, but rational guys like me and Gary are not going to do that.
I didn't say I was rational. I never said I was rational.
But I want to thank you guys for joining me once again on my, I hate to say my show because it sounds so pretentious. Just my show. I have a show on Real Life with Carl Yard. I'd like to thank my guest, Noel Gray. Noel, we'll see you back here soon.
I hope so. That would be great.
And I want to thank you for sharing your story with us. I don't want to get too sentimental about this, but I really appreciate you as a comic and you as a person.
Now can I take off my shirt?
No, you can take off your shirt yet. So to get more information about Noel, you can see Noel on Facebook.
Noel Gray, Noelle Gray. I'm also on Twitter at Gray Noel.
And this is my good friend Gary. We used to be involved in a relationship, but I'm no longer gay.
How come you hugged him and not me?
I didn't
hug him. I put my head on his
He
shoulder.
leaned towards me, so my instinct was to hug.
Just leaning. I'm not into black guys anymore.
For more information about Gary, you can see Gary on Facebook.
Gary, Gary Pettinella.
And for more information about moi, you can see I'm also on Facebook, Carl Yard, and the tag is Funny Bajan. Thank you guys again for joining me, and I will see you guys.
Funny Asian?
Funny Bajan.
Oh.
Bajan sounds delicious.
B-A-J-A-N. Thank you, and good night.